BMW repair time again, but today is a speed sensor, a wheel speed sensor, more specifically on this 1 Series coupe. So the main symptoms of this problem, if you've got a BMW at the moment that is juddering when you turn the wheel slightly, i.e. it feels like it's losing power and cutting power, this is a big symptom of these speed sensors going wrong. So essentially, the wheel speed sensor feeds back a message to the car's ECU telling it what speed the wheel is traveling at. Now, when it goes wrong, it can't feed that information back correctly. So what happens is, with the car not being able to tell what speed the wheels are moving at, it cuts fuel, it cuts power, it tries to effectively put you into a safe mode. But what happens is, generally, as soon as you turn the steering wheel and you start engaging other sensors, that's when those messages can't get through, and it starts to mess about, play havoc with the rev range, the engine, and you start getting juddering, kangarooing, and you've only got to have your wheels turned slightly and that kicks in. Sometimes even when it's driving straight. So if you're experiencing that problem, chances are you've got a dead wheel sensor. So we've scanned this car, we found out it's the near side rear, so we're going to get this wheel off, change this sensor over and cure this problem once and for all. Yeah, it was lovely, that. Just brilliant. I love having to kick crap out of a wheel to get it off. Just what I wanted. So as we go under the car then, we've got the road wheel off. When you're trying to find this speed sensor, it's dead easy. So you come around the back of the wheel hub and the brake disc here, and what you'll see is the sensor is housed just here. So it's just housed there. You can see there's a little Allen key bolt in, and then the cable goes up and along this control arm here, and then disappears up behind the crap guard here. So you just have to take that down, it'll unplug there, and then there's some little plastic clips on the control arm that you have to undo. Just they clip apart like that. Make sure you clip them back together when you're done, because it holds your cables securely and stops them getting snagged. So let's get some tools going on and we'll get that sensor out. So you're only going to need a few basic tools for this job really. That's tools to get the wheel off, that's a 5mm Allen key piece for the sensor. You're probably going to need a flat blade screwdriver just to gently work that sensor out. Then you're going to need a 10 and an 8mm socket. And the reason with the 10 and the 8mm socket, put quite simply, is you have a few fixings in the wheel arch liner. You've got some plastic nuts here, 10mm there, a 10mm there, and then you've got a couple of 8mm down in the bumper line as well. So you just need to be able to drop that arch liner back enough so you can trace that wire up there, and the plug is just behind there. So what we'll do is start getting those plastic nuts undone, and there's just 2 of them and a couple of 8mm, and we're good to go. So when you've got the arch liner down and away like that, you can just essentially see in there, there is the plug for your speed sensor. You'll see a wire comes down, and that's where it pops out from behind the arch guard. So all you got to do is pop that out. It will come out that housing, super easy to unplug, and you are good as gold. 5mm Allen key piece then. I've gone up behind the arch guard and I've unplugged the sensor, so it's all unplugged. So all we do, 5mm Allen key in there. Make sure you get it in snug, because these, obviously with them being a hollowed out bolt, they do have a habit of filling up with like grime and road dirt, so it can help to either get a wire brush and just clean the head of the bolt out, or a little pick or something, and then get that Allen key bit in there nice and snug so you get a good contact on it and you can undo it. And the bolt's not ridiculously long, it's only about 20mm long or so, as you can see. And then once that's out, then you can start getting to work on prizing out the sensor. So very rarely will they just pull out. You'll normally have to persuade them a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just get a little flat blade screwdriver and just start teasing it out. So we'll start that, and then we'll come back when we can pull it out. So they are a little bit finicky, these. They do take a little bit of wiggling and a bit of patience. I mean, so far, this has probably been the easiest one I've ever took out. I've had them in the past where the sensor's snapped and I've had to take it all apart and actually drill out the rest of the sensor, which can be a real nightmare and is not something you want to happen. This one, though, a little bit of wiggling and a bit of persuasion like this, it's actually coming out not that bad. And there we go. So that's what the sensor looks like. It's essentially just a magnet, and basically what happens is as the wheel goes round, there's little teeth inside on the hub, and it just picks up the position of those teeth, and that's how it works. So there we are. Let's swap it out for the new one. New sensor here then. So they only go in one way. As you can see, the bolt hole will line up with the bolt hole. All I've done is I've just blown out the housing there with some compressed air to get rid of any little dust or anything that rattled loose when we remove the old sensor. Now, sometimes, not always, there'll be a washer sat underneath where the bolt housing is. On this one there was, so I'm going to put that back on. They can be a little finicky to get back in, so don't force them or hammer them or anything like that. If they're a little bit tough to get back in, clean out the housing a little bit more, spray some WD-40 in there, give it a good clean out, get some compressed air in there and blow it. But they are a snug fit because they have to be held in place, so it's not just going to fall in, but also you shouldn't have to force it in. So that's well on its way now. So I'm just going to grab that washer and we'll put that on the back side, get ready with the bolt so that when we put that back in, we can house all that nicely. I'm just going to send it in a little bit closer first because I want to be able to put that in and not drop it anywhere. So that's on its way back in. Now, one of the most important parts when you're doing this job is routing the wiring correctly, because the wiring does go along the control arm at the top here and it comes behind the suspension spring. That's why this little plastic clip is sat here on the subframe. So if you don't clip your wire into there, there is always a chance it can bind up, snag or break in the suspension string or part of the suspension. So make sure you observe putting it back into those clips so it's held out the way and you don't cut the wire out whilst you're going about your normal daily driving. So let's get that washer back in. This is where it gets a little bit of a nightmare now because you've got to try and contort your arms and your hands around everything, but it's still a relatively straightforward job in all honesty. It's definitely not a bad one. It's just that these sensors, if they're old and they've been in there a while, they can test you a little bit when removing them. So just go at it with some patience and expect it to take a little bit longer than a few minutes. You may get lucky like I have here and it only takes a few minutes, but that's not always the case, unfortunately. So I've just got that washer over the bolt there and I've wound the bolt in just a couple of threads, not tight, but just so it holds itself in position. And then I'll continue to send that sensor home like so. You may find that the last mil or two, you do have to just use the bolt to send it in and clamp it down. And it's not unusual, again, you know, they are quite a snug housing. But that is down there now. So what I'm going to do is grab the ratchet again, and then we're going to tighten that up. Make sure that's nice and snug. Again, don't go crazy. The sensor bodies are only plastic, so you can sort of knacker them up quite easy. But there we go. Snug it down, it's all you need, don't go wild, and you're good as gold. Now we can start routing the wiring. So we know that we've got these little plastic clips here on the control arm. These do get broken a lot with BMW, so it's always handy to pick up a couple of these if you've got to do this job, or if you can see through and know that they're actually broken, pick a couple of them up so you can replace them. So I'm going to route the wiring first, and as I say, we go round the back of the suspension spring like so, just so I've got that roughly in the right place. And then I can start clipping it up and making sure everything is where it needs to be. So obviously keep it behind the suspension spring, don't let it sort of travel through. So I'm just going to get that into there and then clip that one shut. There we go. So we know that's not going anywhere. We've got enough slack here where the movement is fine. We'll go and put it on this one also and then snap that one shut like so. You're doing this bit a little bit blind, there we are. And then we're into these clips here then. So as you'll see, they sort of pop open and then you can close them back over the wire. So same with that one, make sure that's in and we're good as gold. So that'll just disappear back up to the plug behind the arch shield now. And that is it, simple as that. Once you plug that in, you go and clear the fault code if you need to. Usually what will happen is, when you start the car, as soon as you've driven a few yards, it will register the sensors working and it will get rid of that fault. But on the off chance you've got a light on because of it, you might just need to go in, use your scanning machine or your diag and get rid of it. But let's plug this in, get it all built back together, and we'll show you it's working. Refitting the arch liner is just the reverse of removal. The 2 plastic 10mm, the 2 8mm along the bumper line there, and we're good as gold to put the wheel back on. So the job really can be that quick, but like I say, just exercise a little bit of patience when you're getting the old sensor out, because they can be well in there and they can be seized in by rust and all sorts. So let's get the wheel back on and we'll take it for a spin and make sure that that fix has worked. We're just taking the car for a quick road test now. You will see that Dan currently has the diagnostic machine plugged in, and that is showing that all 4 speed sensors are now working beautifully. We have a readout for all 4. Before, the rear left was just a dead flat line, so we knew the sensor was dead. That's how we was able to diagnose it. But that's working lovely now. And the nice thing is, what happens with these sensors is they usually throw a traction control light on and various different warning lights. They're all gone now. The only one we've got left is this is a tyre pressure warning light, and there is the brake pad wear sensors are worn down because we need to change the front pads on it for her as well. As you can tell, it's definitely a girl's car, given all the dressing up that's gone on inside, but that's working beautifully. So that is a problem solved for just a few quid, and really not that long at all. It took us about 20 minutes to do. So that's how quickly you can sort out that problem if you have that issue on a BMW. What we're going to do is go down, do a few turns, go round a roundabout, make sure that the problem's completely gone when we turn the wheels and we're getting no juddering. But so far, a massive improvement, a marked improvement already. So that is a job well done and an absolute win in my book. Now, be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this, because we're doing little standard run-of-the-mill repairs like this all the time that can sometimes cause people to run into problems, but having that guide video there can just help you along with the confidence to be able to do that job, no problem whatsoever. So be sure to subscribe if you want to see more of this sort of content, and it would mean a massive amount to us if you would drop a like on this video and just comment if you got something from this video or you found it valuable or useful. As we can see, we've gone around the corner and that is problem solved. So for now guys, we will see you in the next one.